Um, so open your Humashim. We are in the second parasha of the book of Shemot. In our parasha, we're going to start seeing the transformation from Avdut leGeulah, from being an enslaved people to going to freedom, right? To the Exodus. Last week parasha, we mentioned a little bit about it. We didn't read inside the Psukim how the first attempt of Moshe Rabbeinu that is sent by Hashem to free the people, his first attempt fails, and how much frustration it brings to him. Like, think about it. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want to go. He really did not want to go. He refuses over and over again with 4 or 5 arguments, different arguments. מי אני כי אלך אל פרעה? Who am I? ואני ערל שפתיים. I don't have the proper, according to some מפרשים, it means I don't know to speak properly, even the language. I left Egypt many years ago to come in front of a leader. Who am I? And then Hashem tells him, I will be with you, don't be afraid. And Hashem gives him signs, because Moshe says, what if they don't believe me? Hashem gives him a sign. After the signs, he still says, but I cannot speak. So we see that Moshe Rabbeinu really didn't want to go. And Hashem pushes him to go. And what is the argument, or what is the reason that Hashem is giving Moshe for Moshe to agree to go to save the Jews from Egypt? You can go inside the Psukim and try to see. We are speaking about the Aliyah Revi'i Chamishi in our Chumashim is in page 302. When Hashem first speaks with Moshe on Pasuk 7 of chapter 3, chapter Gimel, when Hashem tells to Moshe, I'm going to send you to free my people, look on Pasuk 7, Hashem said, 303, I have indeed seen the affliction of my people that is in Egypt, and I have heard its outcry because of its taskmaster, for I have known of its sufferings. I have descended to rescue it from the hand of Egypt and to bring it up from the land to a good and spacious land, from that land to a good and spacious land, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanite, the Hittite, the Amorite, Perizzite, Hivite, and Yebusite. And now behold, the outcry of the children of Israel has come to me, and I have also seen the oppression with which the Egyptians oppress them. And now go, and I shall dispatch you to Pharaoh, and you shall take my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. So when Hashem is telling Moshe, I'm sending you, the reason for which I'm sending you is, what is the reason? Why it's time for me to save my people? Because I heard their exclamation, because of their suffering. I'm listening, I hear you. I see how much you are suffering, my people. So this is the reason, it's like an humanitarian reason. And Hashem is taking Moshe, which has proven to be a person that cares a lot about injustice, that cares a lot about suffering, that cares a lot about helping the weak. We saw that last week. In 3 different episodes that the Torah is introducing Moshe to us, Moshe is presenting himself as a man that whenever I see suffering, I intervene. Whenever I see pain, I want to help. Whenever I see the vulnerable being oppressed by the strong, I am there to help. So with that argument, Hashem is talking to the person that is the most suitable for that mission, an humanitarian mission. I'm going to help them. They're crying. They've been suffering. Now, I don't know if you remember, how many years did Hashem tell Abraham that his nation, his descendants, are going to be slaves, are going to be oppressed? Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. There is people trying to enter? I don't see them. Like I am trying to see one person. Yes, your mother-in-law. Here she is. I can make you co-host. If you can enter, I will make you co-host. Of course. So do you remember in Brit Ben Abetarim, before Abraham Avinu becomes a nation, because he has before he has a child, before he has Am Israel coming from him, already Hashem is telling him that his descendants are going to be enslaved. So who are going to be, how long they're going to be enslaved? Do you remember? Who remembers? How much? No, that's what happens. But what is Hashem telling him? You don't remember? Okay, let me just finish with it. Are you co-host already?
I don't know. I think
I
you have to, you made me.
I did make you co-host. Exactly, 400. The plan was that Am Yisrael are going to be enslaved for 400 years. Now we know that this is not 400 years. This is less. It seems that because the suffering was so big, because the enslavement was so harsh, Hashem decides to intervene previously, before that, and Hashem is going to save the people. So this is how we saw last time that Hashem is telling Moshe, and Moshe goes. And what happens then when Moshe goes? What is the reaction of Paro? First, Moshe tells the people, and the people believe him. Yeah, time has come. Time has come for us to be saved, as we have in our tradition. By Aminu, they believe Moshe. But then when Moshe goes and tells Paro, what is Paro's reaction? Do you remember? Okay, let's go to see it inside. What? Exactly. Paro answers with a lot of sarcasm. If you go on page after Moshe asks permission from Yitro, he goes to Paro on Aliyah Shvi'it, page 313. Okay? Look before that on Pasuk 31 at the end of the chapter. And the people believed, and they heard that Hashem had remembered the children of Israel, and that he saw their affliction, and they bowed their heads and prostrated themselves. So the people say, oh, Hashem is seeing our suffering. Hashem is coming to save us. Hashem is sending this person, Moshe, to save us. Okay, everything looks good. But then Moshe and Aaron approached Paro. Afterwards, Moshe and Aaron came and said to Paro, so said Hashem, the God of Israel, send out my people that they may celebrate for me in the wilderness. Paro replied, who is Hashem that I should heed his voice to send out Israel? I do not know Hashem, nor will I send out Israel. So they said, the God of the Hebrews happened upon us. Let us now go for a 3-day journey in the wilderness, and we shall bring offerings to Hashem our God, lest he strike us dead with the plague or the sword. The king of Egypt said to them, Moshe and Aaron, why do you disturb the people from its work? Go to your own burdens. And Pharaoh said, behold, the people of the land are now numerous, and you would have them cease from their burdens? There are so many. You want me to let go of so many people working for me? You know what's going to happen with my construction if I close the business for 3 days? There are too many. You're not asking permission for one person, for 2 people, for 3. You're asking that I let go all this amount of slaves that are actually building my pyramids and are taking care of so much work in Egypt. I cannot do that. On that day, Paro, and what is Paro's conclusion? On that day, Paro ordered the taskmasters over the people and its foremen, saying, you shall no longer give straw to the people to manufacture the bricks as yesterday and before yesterday. Let them go and gather straw for themselves. But to quota of bricks that they were making yesterday and before yesterday, you shall impose upon them. Do not reduce it. For what is the reason they're asking from me to go? They're lazy. They're lazy. Therefore, they cry out saying, let us go and bring offerings to our God. Let the work be heavier upon the men, and let them engage in it, and let them not pay attention to false words. Paro is saying it so clearly. You know what? I say, let's make it more difficult for them. Now they have to take care of find the straw, but the amount of bricks is going to be the same, which means if they had 10 minutes for lunch, those 10 minutes are not there for them anymore. They need to go and use that time to find the straw. Is that too difficult to find straw? You know how much straw you need to make one brick? You need to bring the straw, you need to mix it with water, you need to make it moody and then make the shape of a brick. It has to be condensed. You need a lot of straw, a lot of straw. And let's say you had to make, I don't know, 500 bricks a day, and now you have to look for the straw for those bricks. It's going to be a very difficult task. But Paro is saying, they're lazy. How can they be thinking about freedom? That means that they have time to think. I don't want them to have time to think. The work has to be so heavy, so intense. They cannot have 1 minute to think. And that's what Paro is doing. Yes. Very good. Why are they asking for 3 days? It seems that they would ask, let us go free for sure. He would never listen to that. They're giving him the option at least. And it was something common. Like they have found in archaeological sites, they have found documents or stones where they have written about this slave is off because of going to worship his God or whatever. It was something common. You worship, it was a society, a polytheistic society with many gods, and it was okay that a slave would take, today is my holiday, I have to go, I have to do this. But here Moshe Rabbeinu is bringing something new for this huge community of Hebrew slaves. He wants them to live for 3 days. There is no way Paro is going to let them go. I have a message here. There is an echo. Okay, so let's make mute. You did it? Okay. I forgot I have a co-host, a very efficient co-host. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so now what happens now? I want to show you, the Torah is not telling us a lot about how much more difficult the work became for Am Israel, but the Midrashim do, Chachamim do. I have 2 Midrashim here that you listen to them and you realize how bitter it became for Am Israel. So one Midrash is from Midrash Rabbah in Shemot Hey Yutet, כיוון שישראל יוצאים להביא תבן ולעשות, היה המצרי רועהו בתוך שדהו ומשבר את שוקיו. So now Israel, the Yehudim, they have to go wherever they can to find straw. So they would go to certain areas, to certain lands, and sometimes they belong to other Egyptians. If an Egyptian would be an Hebrew slave in his property and his sadeh near his house, he would come and hit him, meshaber et shokav, breaks his bones. That's how difficult, more difficult it became for them. There is another midrash, much more hard to swallow, garua mize, even worse. If they were not able to bring the amount of lebanim, of bricks, להשלים את חוק הלבנים היומי, הושלמה המכסה בצורה מזעזעת. What would the Egyptian do? Let's say there is a wall here. This wall requires 300 bricks, and I have 295, which means I have a hole. Do you know what the Egyptians would do? What the Midrashim tell us that they would do? שאם לא היו משלימים מניין הלבנים, היו נוטלים ביניהם הנולדים להם, וחובשים אותם בבניין. They would take Jewish babies, those babies that there was a commandment to throw them to the Nile, right? They would take them and put them inside the wall to fill the hole instead of a brick. So you can imagine what it meant for the Jewish people. The beginning of their Geulah, the beginning of their redemption, the beginning of finally seeing that Hashem is sending to free them. So what is their reaction? What is the reaction? So you see, oh, Hashem heard us. Hashem is coming to rescue us. And then Moshe, the emissary of Hashem, goes to Paro, speaks with Paro. Paro's response is giving us harder work, taking our babies, killing them. What is my reaction? What do I want to say now? Try to be a slave. Try to be an Hebrew slave. What is your mind thinking now? What do you want? Stop. Leave us alone. You know why you will tell Paro, leave us alone? Because your mind is absolutely focused on only one thing. And what is that thing? One word for that? Survival. I am busy surviving. You know what? Actually, it's not so bad. I got used to it. I learned the system. I know how to do, so I can even avoid him hitting me. I smile at my master every morning. My wife prepares a cake for her master and she's nice to us. We have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. My children are growing. We're okay. We're okay. I don't need to be better. How many times it happens to us that we are living circumstances, situations that are not ideal, but we got so used to it and we learn to live with them that we don't want anybody to come and remind us that this is bad. I don't even want to think about that. I'm okay. Let me, you know how you put to the horses, you put them, how you call that? You put them something on the sides so they go straight and they don't look right or left. So this is more or less what the slave is asking here. Let me focus on my work. Let me focus on survival. Don't give me false hopes. Don't give me ideas of freedom. That's scary. Why is that scary? Because usually freedom has a price. It has a price. It doesn't come so automatically. Yeah, we are free. Let's sing Betzet Israel mi Mitzrayim from the moment Moshe arrives. There is a process. There is a journey. And it seems that it's still not the moment. So now, of course, again, they come to cry to Paro. And look at Pasuk 17. After they cry to Paro saying, why do you do this to your servants? Paro says, you are lazy, lazy. That's why you say, let us go and bring offerings to Hashem. Now, go to work. No, straw will not be given to you, but you must provide a quota of bricks. And the foreman of the children of Israel saw them in distress when they said, do not reduce your bricks, the daily matter. So they come from speaking with Paro. Who did they encounter? They come out from speaking to Paro, from complaining. Who did they encounter? They encountered Moshe and Aaron standing opposite them as they left Paro's presence. They say to them, may Hashem look upon you and judge, for you have made our very scent abhorrent in the eyes of Paro and the eyes of his servants to place a sword in their hands to murder us. What did you do to us, Moshe and Aaron? You made our lives much more difficult. You came here for us to die. This is the beginning of the complaints of Bnei Israel against Moshe. Moshe doesn't know it yet. We know because we've studied Torah. We know how many times the people are blaming Moshe, the leader, for him being there, helping them, guiding them, doing everything for them. But now more than ever. So now Moshe Rabbeinu is so affected by this, so affected that he comes against Hashem, speaking to Hashem in a very harsh way. Moshe returned to Hashem and said, my Lord, why have you done evil to these people? Why have you sent me? From the time I came to Paro to speak in your name, he did evil to these people, but you did not rescue your people. What do you think about the way Moshe is talking to Hashem? What do you think? How does it sound? A very big chutzpah. This is how you talk to Hashem? Where is your emunah? Patience. Wait. Where is Moshe at this moment? Moshe is speaking from a place of pain. And there is a transformation here. A needed transformation in Moshe. What happened last time when Moshe came to intervene between the two Hebrew slaves? You remember? That they were fighting and Moshe came to separate them. What did they tell him? Who are you? Who made you? Sarve Shofet Alenu, like who made you our judge? Did you come to kill us the way you killed the Egyptian? And very probable that they were, the Israelites, some of them, those that came to Paro to tell Paro about Moshe. When he killed the Egyptian, it says that Moshe, before he killed him, Vaifen Ko. Moshe checked. Anybody here? Anybody there? He didn't see anybody. What does it mean he didn't see anybody? He didn't see any person that was Egyptian. There were Hebrew slaves everywhere, but Moshe thought, I'm defending them. I'm doing for them. And he realizes they are, instead of appreciating my help, instead of seeing that they want to help me, they come against me. So what is Moshe's reaction after that? Moshe escapes. Moshe takes distance. Moshe says, leave me alone. I don't want to do anything with you. Here, when the people of Israel come to Moshe and they tell him, you are terrible. You made our life worse. What have you done to us? Moshe Rabbeinu could have reacted the same way. He could have said, I wash my hands. I know this is not for me. Sorry, Hashem. And he doesn't do that. So Moshe Rabbeinu is becoming the leader that he needs to become, the one that cares for Am Israel, the one that is defending them, even if it is coming and speaking harshly in front of Hashem, which he's asking a question, a very valid question, and we see that Hashem is not rebuking Moshe, is not punishing him. Hashem is just telling him, Moshe, he's not saying it, but he's kind of saying, I know. It's part of the process. There are things that you don't know, Moshe. There are things that you don't know because I still didn't tell you. Again, what is the reason that Hashem told Moshe that because of that reason he is sending him to save Israel? It was because of their suffering, to help them, to reduce the pain. If that's the reason of the mission, mission has failed because you did not reduce their pain, you did not make their lives better, you did not get them free from Paro's oppression, quite the opposite. You made their lives more difficult. So Moshe's complaint is based on that. Hashem, you told me that I am coming to help them. This is not happening, the opposite. So now Hashem, in our parasha, that's how we start our parasha, is going to explain to Moshe. So let's go to our parasha. Vaidaber Elohim el Moshe. God spoke to Moshe and said to him, Parashat Vaera, I am Hashem. I appeared to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov as El Shaddai. But with my name Hashem, I did not make myself known to them. Moreover, I established my covenant with them to give them the land of Canaan, the land of the sojourning in which they sojourned. Moreover, I've heard the groan of the children of Israel, whom Egypt enslaves, and I have remembered my covenant. Therefore, before I continue, let's go backwards. I am Hashem. What does it mean, the name of Hashem? The name of Hashem, Yud K Vav K, is a name that expresses eternity. I was in the past, I am in the present, I am in the future. The times don't mean to Hashem like for us. For Hashem, past, present, and future, he can see all of that on the same level. And also, if Hashem said something in the present, for sure he has the ability to fulfill that in the future. And that's why he's saying, I appear to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov as El Shaddai. I appear to them, but I never make myself known to them as Hashem. What does it mean? That I could never show them that I'm going to fulfill what I promised to them. And Rashi here says, when I promised to Abraham that I'm giving him the land, that this land is going to be his, still when Abraham had to bury his wife, Sarah, in Ma'arat HaMachpelah, he had to go through a very intense transaction. He had to purchase the land. He couldn't just take, this is my land, let me move from here. Abraham still didn't see the fulfillment of my prophecy that I'm going to give them the land. So, and also he says, I have heard the groan of the... So one reason he says, I remember the promise to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Second reason he says, and I established my covenant to give them the land of Canaan. Second, I've heard the groan of the children of Israel. I remember, I've heard their pain. Therefore tell them. So there is two reasons here. One is I have a covenant I have a promise that I made to the forefathers. Second, I hear their pain. Yes. Therefore, it says here, say to the children of Israel, I am Hashem, and I shall take you out from under the burdens of Egypt. I shall rescue you from their service. And now, in Hebrew, we see the, look in Pasuk Vav in Hebrew. Lachen emor livnei Israel. Ani Hashem, פסוק ו', 6, והוצאתי אתכם מתחת סבלות מצרים, which means, I shall take you out from under the burdens of Egypt. להוציא physically, I'm going to take you out. The second one, והצלתי אתכם מעבודתם. I shall rescue from their service, which means you are going to be free from that slavery. וגאלתי אתכם בזרוע נטויה. I shall redeem you with an outstretched arm and with great judgments. I'm going to show a lot of miracles because of you. And then 7, ולקחתי אתכם לי לעם, והייתי לכם לאלוהים. I shall take you for me for a people, and I shall be a God to you. So what do we see here? Chachamim call these are Arba'a Leshonot Geula. The Torah is using to express, to describe the redemption that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give us, that is going to take us out of Egypt. Hashem is using here 4 expressions, 4 Leshonot of Geula. והוצאתי, והצלתי, וגאלתי ולקחתי. הוצאתי, הצלתי, גאלתי, לקחתי. And this is the reason that in Pesach, we drink the 4 cups of wine. 4 cups of wine we have, it's a mitzvah. It's such a mitzvah that even if there is a poor among us in the community, in the congregation, that doesn't have money to afford buying wine to fulfill the mitzvah, is a mitzvah to help him. You know, in the halachot of tzedakah, there are questions. Chachamim ask themselves, should I give the person that needs money for this reason or not? Let's say, or I am going through a difficult situation. What is better, that I ask tzedakah or I just handle the way I can? So most times, it's better not to ask if you can live. But for certain mitzvot that you have to do them, it's better to ask. And the community has the obligation to give you. So one of the things that you need to ask is wine for fulfilling the mitzvah of Arba Kosot in Pesach. Now there is something very interesting. I am holding the book of Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Covenant and Conversation, for the book of Shemot, Zichrono Livracha. And here he's bringing something very interesting that you find in the Babylonian Talmud, in the Talmud Babli. The Babylonian Talmud, however, there is a strange statement. By the way, why do we drink a cup of wine for each one of these languages? Why? Why? Remember, Lekadesh, and wine is also a celebration, Lechaim, to be grateful, to remember. Lechaim, thank you Hashem, אתה הוצאת אותנו, thank you Hashem, אתה הצלת אותנו, thank you Hashem, אתה גאלת אותנו, אתה עשית אותנו לעם. So it's a way of being grateful by remembering and being grateful to Hashem. So in the Talmud it says here, the fifth cup, over this one completes Hallel and says Hallel Hagadol. These are the words of Rabbi Tarfon. Now Rashi thinks that there is a mistake in the edition of the Talmud, and then he says, no, it refers to the 4th cup, that you are doing this with the 4th cup. But Maimonides, Harambam, however, accept the text as it stands. He writes that after drinking the 4 cups and completing Hallel, one may pour a 5th cup and say over it Hallel Hagadol, This cup is not obligatory, unlike the 4 cups. So Rambam is saying, no, yes, the Talmud is speaking about a 5th cup that is optional. And what is the 5th cup for? Now, some other mefarshim, like the son of a Rambam, would say that yes, that or Ravad, that it was a mitzvah to drink the 5th cup. Now, all of us, if we think about an extra cup in the Seder, what do we think about? Eliyahu Navi, right? It's like a legend that in every home we think Eliyahu Navi might come. And Rabbi Isaac himself, he writes that as a child, he remembers that they would fill a 5th cup and he was always looking at the wine to see if there is a little bit less wine. Perhaps Eliyahu Navi came and he drank from it. But actually, the idea of Eliyahu Navi is because there is a machloket that we don't know if we need to drink a 5th cup or we don't need to drink a 5th cup. When will we know the answer? When Eliyahu Navi comes and he will machriya benem, he will tell us what is the real halacha. But anyways, what is the meaning of the 5th cup and what for? What for would be the 5th cup? It says here in the psukim, the last one of the languages of Geulah is pasuk Hey, chet, sorry, 8. והבאתי אתכם אל הארץ, and I shall bring you to the land about which I raised my hand to give it to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and I shall give it to you as an heritage. I am Hashem. We don't see it yet here, but we will see now when we read the psukim, that at one point, all this Geulah that Hashem is bringing to Am Israel is going to happen in an unilateral way. Am Israel are going to be very passive. Like they at the beginning they got excited and then they said, leave us alone, leave us alone. And we will see it later on the psukim. So nevertheless, Hashem will come and Hashem will make the simanim, the nisim, the makot. He will punish Egypt. He will take Am Israel out of Egypt, even if they don't want. By the way, they didn't want to leave Egypt. That's one of the reasons. We don't want it. It's scary. What are we going to do? When I'm a slave, when I'm a slave, I don't have to decide. I don't have to make decisions. You know what is one thing that a slave doesn't need in his house? He doesn't need even a calendar. He doesn't need a clock. Time almost doesn't have any meaning for him because you follow routines. You don't make decisions. Today, I feel like going to a sample cell. You remember what was a sample cell? What was a sample cell? Like going to a sample cell or going to a restaurant or going on many things. A slave cannot decide. He cannot decide. He has to do whatever his master tells him. The master tells him who to marry, what to do, and some people live like that. They don't want to make decisions. They want to ask questions. They want others to tell them what to do. Should I buy or not buy? Should I travel or not travel? Should I do or not do? Should I marry this girl or not marry this girl? Some people live like that. They don't want to take, because making decisions require assuming responsibility and taking, what do you do when you make a decision? You take a risk. You can make the right decision and you can make the wrong decision. They don't want risks. They don't want anything that will make them, like they're used to certain type of suffering. They don't want the other type of suffering, of the, when you are disappointment, of things don't happen my way. So anyways, Hashem is going to take them without even them being participating. But the last one that says here, Velakachti etchem li le'am, 7, I shall take you to me for a people, and I shall be a God to you, and you shall know that I am Hashem, your God, who takes you out from under the burdens of Egypt. At one point, Hashem doesn't want us to stay passive forever. What is that we have to do? What is that we have to do? Until this moment, okay, I'm going to take you out of Egypt, velakachti, vega'alti, and I'm going to be your God, which means I'm choosing you to become my nation, something revolutionary that never existed. That Hashem is coming and saying, I'm going to choose this group of people to be my nation, my people. But What does it mean already? They are just born. They were families. They were individuals. Because, okay, very good. It's true that Hashem already chose Abraham Avinu and his descendants are going to be, but it has to come with a covenant. Imagine two families. I have a boy, you have a girl, and we decide they're going to get married. Still, they're going to get married, but in the moment of the wedding, they need to make a covenant among themselves. They need to choose each other. They need to agree to live with each other. This is the language of marriage. When Hashem is saying, "Ve'iti," how you say in Hebrew, "Velakachti etchem li le'am," I'm taking you for a nation, "Ve'iti lachem le'elohim," and I'm going to be your God. But you also, וידעתם כי אני השם אלוהיכם המוציא אתכם מתחת סבלות מצרים. But you also, you stop being passive, stop not understanding anything that's happening. After all this process that I take you out of Egypt, that I'm bringing all this makot, that I'm doing all of this, and I'm choosing you to be my people and myself to be your God, you shall know that I am Hashem, your God. As happens later in Har Sinai, Anochi, the first thing that Hashem wants from us, to believe. Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher hotzeticha me'eretz Mitzrayim. You shall know that I am Hashem, your God, who takes you out from under the burdens of Egypt. I shall bring you to the land about which I raised my hand to give it to Abraham. So Rabbi Lau says that to bring us, to become our God, to choose us as our nation, Hashem is willing to do it even before we are cooperating. To bring us to Eretz Israel, it is required that we are already under a covenant, that Ani Elohechem, Hashem is our God, and we believe in Hashem, and we are willing to follow His Torah and Mitzvot. That's why this is the fifth language of Geulah. This is the fifth cup that not necessarily is mandatory, but I know people that they drink it because they follow this idea that a Rambam brings, that is for bringing us to Eretz Israel. I shall bring you to the land about which I raise my hand to give it to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Okay, and what is the Pasuk Tet telling us? After Moshe tells Bnei Israel all of this, so Moshe spoke accordingly to the children of Israel, but they did not heed Moshe because of shortness of breath and hard work. They couldn't listen to Moshe. Imagine you have in a country, in certain nation, they're going through very, very economic distress. People don't have what to eat. Literally, they don't have bread on the table. And somebody, a politician that is really has the ability to change the situation, comes with a plan of 12 months, of 2 years. I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and you will see in 2 years how things are going to be better for you. You're going to see how the marketplace is going to open, the real estate is going to come down, everyone will be able to do it. Do you think people can listen to him? Because what do they need at this moment? Food. I want bread today. I want to put my children to sleep not hungry tonight. Don't speak to me about what's going to happen in 2 years. Moshe Rabbeinu is speaking to Am Israel about Hashem is going to take us out of Egypt and bring us to a beautiful land. And I want to survive my day. Velo sham'u el Moshe mikotzer ruach. What is the meaning of kotzer ruach? Kotzer ruach, what does it mean? How is translated here? Shortness of breath. What does it mean? When you are working very, very hard, literally, it can make you have shortness of breath. It can be very literal. And then, don't worry me, I'm looking for straw. I have to run. I have to make the bricks. I have to get there. No, I can't. Don't. It could be literally that. Rabbi Lau was also saying something very interesting. He says, to understand this concept, think about a person that has asthma. You can come to that person and tell him, listen, if you go into this homeopathic diet and you change your environmental circumstances, conditions, sorry, and everything, that give me oxygen now. That's what I need. I need air. That's what I want. So Bnei Israel are in this state. And Mefarshim have different ways of explaining. Kotzer Ruach and Avodah Kasha is exactly what Paro wanted from them. Velo sham'u biglal avodah kasha. Because when you are working too hard, when your life is too busy, you don't have time to listen to other things. You cannot focus. Your focus is absolutely in your job, in your work, in fulfilling your obligations. And that's what's happening to Bnei Israel. Exactly what Moshe wanted from them. So now, let me just see if I can show you one or two here. For example, Sforno, what does it say? לא שמעו אל משה להתבונן בכל זה. They couldn't think about that. And Sforno says, בעניין שיפתחו בישועת האל יתברך, ויחשביה להם לצדקה. Sforno says, if they would think about it, they would understand that having emunah in Hashem would already be something to be rewarded for. The same thing that Hashem rewards Abraham because he believed on him. But they cannot think. They cannot go into philosophical thoughts. Oh, Hashem is the one that my grandparents told me about. That is, they can't. They are not there. So the situation of Am Israel is work. And I cannot think of anything. And I don't want to think, and I'm afraid to think. Again, because what we said before, we are in a situation of survival. So now what happens? We can look at this as the second failure, right? Moshe Rabbeinu is coming for the second time, but again, he's not successful. Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe lemor. So Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, come speak to Paro, king of Egypt, that he sent the children of Israel from his land. So what is Hashem going to change the plan now? We're not going to do this through the people of Israel, as you wanted, Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to make them partners in the process. He wanted the communication with them. He wanted them to be part of this process of Geulah. But it seems that they are not able, they're not capable. So they're going to be treated as a baby. Now, Am Israel is a baby, a newborn that cannot make decisions for themselves, that they cannot start any steps. They need to be really carried and taken, and things need to be done for them until at the beginning. So Hashem spoke to Moshe, come speak to Paro, king of Egypt, that he sent the children of Israel from his land. So Moshe spoke before Hashem saying, and Moshe Rabbeinu goes again back to where he was at the beginning when Hashem is sending him. It seems like a repetition. Behold, the children of Israel have not listened to me. So how will Paro listen to me? And I have sealed lips. All the confidence that Hashem gave to Moshe at the beginning. Moshe Rabbeinu was, sometimes we've taught this class and focused absolutely in Moshe Rabbeinu lack of self-esteem at the beginning, and how Hashem is slowly showing him, you have to believe in yourself. If I'm with you, I am the one that gives the talents to people. If I give the sight to the people to see and the ability to listen, I can also give you the ability to speak here. Don't be afraid. And I give you signs to show, and I'm with you. So all that confidence that Moshe has acquired is kind of disappearing after coming again and telling, you know, Hashem, with all this speech that he came, Arba Leshonot Geula, the 4 languages of redemption, and Hashem is bringing us to this beautiful land, and Hashem is remembering our, and they didn't listen. They are like, leave us alone. We don't want to see you. We don't want to hear about you. So Moshe Rabbeinu is now Hashem sending him to Paris. Says, do you think that a stranger, the king of Egypt, will listen to me when my own brothers, Am Israel, that they heard about you, did not listen? So Hashem spoke to Moshe and Aaron and commanded them regarding the children of Israel and regarding Paro, king of Egypt, to take the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. Hashem is kind of telling Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron at this point, they're together, finish, it's done. All the explanations, all the convincing you, all the make you feel good about yourself, it's over. Now it's time to act. So he's commanding them, go. These were, and now it's very interesting that Parasha changes subject, totally changes the subject, and is going to speak about, yes, it's speaking about, starts from Reuven, Shimon, and then it gets to Levi, and it ends on Pasuk, look at Pasuk 25. For example, these were the leaders of the fathers of the Levites according to their families. This was, Pasuk 26, this was the Aaron and Moshe to whom Hashem said, take the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt according to their legions. They were the ones who spoke to Paro, king of Egypt, to take the children of Israel out of Egypt. This was the Moshe and Aaron. It was on the day when Hashem spoke to Moshe in the land of Egypt. Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, I am Hashem, speak to Paro, king of Egypt, everything that I speak to you. Moshe said before Hashem, behold, I have sealed lips, so how shall Paro heed me? So what is this description of the lineage of, it seems, Moshe and Aaron? Like, it starts with Reuben and Shimon. Some Mefarshim say that the Torah here is describing the lineage of Reuben and Shimon because they have been criticized by Yaakov Avinu, right? You remember? So to give them importance, to show that they are also part of Am Israel. So it's describing their descendants, and also to get to Levi. So why is the Torah now coming to describe to me who are Aaron and Moshe? From where are they coming? What do you think? So to give them a sense of importance, to give them confidence, you know from where you are coming? You are coming from these amazing people. You are the children of Yocheved and Amram. You are, the children of Aaron are going to become Kohanim. That could be one of the explanations. That's what some Mefarshim would say, that to give Moshe and Aaron the importance that they deserve. Now the mission is starting. So now we are going to tell you who are Moshe and Aaron. Also, if you remember, at the beginning of the book of Shemot, last week Parasha, we didn't see names. We didn't see, Moshe was called Moshe, but we didn't see the names of his parents, of Miriam, the names, nobody had a name. It's kind of the beginning of redemption. You are going to start having a name. You're going to be somebody. That's another way of understanding. I also read a very interesting interpretation, and I really liked it very much. It's from a book. Oh, it's here, the book. A rab called Rabbi Moshe Grilik. I don't know. The book is called Parashat Vaera. And it says something very beautiful. He says, okay, so the mission is beginning now. We still don't know. Imagine you never studied the Torah. We never read the book of Shemot. So we know that Hashem wants to try to take a nation from inside a nation of slaves out to freedom and take them to a land. It sounds like a fantasy, like a crazy thing, like an impossible thing. But it's going to happen. And it's going to happen in the hands of Moshe and Aaron. And Moshe Rabbeinu is going to be the one that has in its hands the ability to make miracles. It's going to be, the Makot and this opening of the sea and in the war with Amalek. And he's kind of becoming like what? Moshe Rabbeinu will look like a God. You can get confused. Hashem is going to take us out of Egypt, but the face of it is going to be Moshe and Aaron. So the Torah, before we start in this journey, is reminding us that they were Bnei Basar Badam, absolutely human. And he's telling us from where they're coming and who are his parents and that they have siblings and who are going to be their children. So we need to remember, it's very beautiful to see. It's from the beginning of Moshe's leadership with Am Israel. We start getting the description of from where he's coming, who are his parents, human being. And at the end of his journey, when Moshe Rabbeinu passes away, the Torah is also showing us that Hashem doesn't want us to relate to him as a deity, as a God. And what happens after he dies? We don't even know where he is buried. So nobody will come to the burial site, to the grave, and go to pray there to Moshe Rabbeinu Tzaddik, because Hashem wants us to see them as humans. Yes, a great Navi, but he is a human. So our parasha continues today as with the Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron coming to Paro, doing as Hashem requested from them, and coming with in a very aggressive way. First, showing him some signs that Paro keeps laughing at Moshe because his magicians are also able to see that. And then we get in our parasha the makot, one after the other. We find 7 of the makot that Mitzrayim is going to be hit by Hashem. Usually I like to devote one class on the Makot, that is going to be Be'ezrat Hashem next week. We will speak about the 10 Makot together, why Hashem is doing this to Paro, what is the goal of the Makot, is Hashem taking Paro's freedom of choice, is that fair, is that right? So all of that Be'ezrat Hashem we're going to see next week. Now I just want to finish and to wrap our class of today. So we saw how Moshe Rabbeinu gets very frustrated, right? Moshe Rabbeinu was expecting that he's coming to Bnei Israel, and when he comes, his mission would be successful, and the oppression is going to be loosened, and they're going to be freed from Egypt, and they're going to stop being slaves, and that doesn't happen. So what would have happened if Bnei Israel would have left Egypt immediately? What would have happened? Okay, very good. So Kat is speaking from the point of view of Am Israel. If it would have come too easy to us, we wouldn't have internalized it. Sometimes only after you work hard, you really appreciate what's happening to you. We know how much many of our mitzvot, even the 10 Commandments, are based on the fact that Hashem took us out of Egypt. But there is more than that. There is more than that. It's not only about our view of the events. To see the greatness of Hashem, there is a process, an educational process here. And Hashem has 2 goals in mind, if we could speak in that way about Hashem. Hashem needs to educate who? Bnei Israel, of course, us. How do we know about Hashem? Like we were 210 years in Egypt. Like, what do we know about this God? Is one more God as all the gods that the Egyptians have? What do we know about him? What do we know about his power? What do we know about his abilities? What do we know about his control on nature? What do we know about his intervention in human lives, in history? So all of that we have to learn through this process. We wouldn't have learned that. We just have been free. Yes.
It's like the physical miracles helped, like in Israel, they needed that. They didn't have it at all, and it was like nothing for them. They didn't really know God at that point.
Exactly. Karin is saying we did not believe in Hashem. We didn't have emunah. So Hashem has to, through the physical miracles, is helping to mold that emunah in us, Am Israel. And the other nations, Egypt, and we will see next week, Be'ezrat Hashem. You can, if you are bored, or if you want on Shabbat, when you read the Torah, try to check in the different makot, in the different events that are going to happen. The Torah tells us וידעו כי אני, who is going to know that I am Hashem? So it happens about Mitzrayim and about Israel. About Mitzrayim and about Israel. There is an educational process here that Hashem is going to apply to the people of Israel. Let us just finish reading this on Pasuk Aliyah Shlishit, and with this we finish our class. Redemption begins, okay? Aliyah Shlishit. It was on the day that when Hashem spoke to Moshe in the land of Egypt, Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, I am Hashem, speak to Paro, king of Egypt, everything that I speak to you. Moshe said before Hashem, behold, I've sealed lips, so how shall Paro heed me? Hashem said to Moshe, see, I have made you a master over Paro, and Aaron, your brother, shall be your spokesman. The translation here says, a master. In Hebrew, you see, Re'e netaticha Elohim le Paro. I made you like a god for Paro. So making you a master means that Paro is going to really respect you. Hashem, you know, we always ask ourselves, every time that Moshe comes to speak with Paro, how come Paro doesn't send to kill him? Not even because he feels threatened, just because he's so annoying. Leave me alone. What are you coming again and again and with another makkah? But Aaron is kind of engaging in this game with Moshe Rabbeinu. And Hashem made that. I've made you a master over Paro, and Aaron your brother shall be your spokesman. You shall speak everything that I shall command you, and Aaron your brother shall speak to Paro. Don't be any more worried about your language, about your speech, about your limitations, because Aaron is coming with you and he will be your spokesman. That he should send the children of Israel from this land, but I'm telling you, Hashem is telling Moshe, and by the way, he told him from the first moment in the bush, whenever Hashem appears to Moshe, there Hashem is telling Moshe, and he's not going to let you. I'm going to harden his heart. And it's going to take time, and it's going to be until you can leave, and everyone is going to leave with the gifts, etc. Hashem is telling the plan. It's not a surprise. It's not that Hashem said, I'm going to free Bnei Israel now, and Hashem is failing. Hashem had a plan from the beginning. So, but I shall harden Paro's heart, and I shall multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. Paro will not heed you, and I shall put my hand upon Egypt, and I shall take out my legions, my people, the children of Israel, from the land of Egypt, with great judgments. And look at this. And Egypt shall know that I am Hashem, when I stretch out my hand over Egypt, and I shall take the children of Israel out from among them. So before that we saw that Hashem said, and Bnei Israel shall know that I'm their God. So this is one goal on this mission. Here the second goal is Egypt shall know that I am Hashem. Why is so important that Egypt knows that I am Hashem? Why is so important? What do you care about what Egypt thinks about Hashem? Egypt is the symbol of the highest advanced civilization at that time. It's like, you know, when you speak about fashion, who is the lead? Who is the lead on fashion? Italy. So whatever Italy decides, others will follow. So here, if Mitzrayim and Paro decide, Yesh Elohim, Hashem wa Elohim, he was right, these are his nation, others will follow. And as we see later, that the nations were afraid of Am Israel. We saw that with Balak, we saw that in Yoshua with the Rahav, that everybody is afraid of Am Israel. Meraglim, yes. So everybody knew. Why do they know? Because Egypt has learned the lesson. Egypt has acknowledged. So Hashem has that as one of the goals. And here we're going to start, but Be'ezrat Hashem, we will leave this for next week again. How come that Hashem is hardening Paro's heart? Where is his freedom of choice? We'll talk about that Be'ezrat Hashem Shavua Haba. Thank you for listening. Any questions here on this crowd that you were so quiet all the time? No, I don't think that there is question. You can unmute yourself whenever you need, girls. Okay. So
Thank you.
we're done. Have a great
Thank
end of
you.
the week and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Bye-bye.
Shalom.
You're welcome. Bye.